Okay, I think the important thing when you talk about training, I also do. I also doing already for a longer period, providing training to end users, key users, partners, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the important thing there is what I always when I'm asked, okay, do you have time for some training? I always have a few questions immediately, because what is the scoping? What is the audience? Do I talk to more technical people? So should it be an HR technical admin kind of training? Yeah. Or is the audience more on end user perspective? Or are that key users that already have some experience? It's very good to know what is my starting point. What is my audience? What is the experience of the audience? And I should pick up from the lowest experience. That is my starting level. So important for me to give training is to decide on what's the scope. Of course, what are the topics that should be touched? Which functionality? Is it setup or is it only functionality? What is the audience? And then I'm making up my mind. And then, of course, I have some trainings on the shelf. And then I can take it and I can tweak that training that is applicable for the audience that I have. And also also questions like, or when customers are saying, yeah, but we have some people that are not that experienced and are nervous to get some training or nervous to work. When I know that upfront, you're going to slow down and not do a training in one day, but then maybe in several days and spread them out, and not doing a training from 8 to 5, but doing a training from 10 to 3 or 10 to 3:30, for example.
Yes.
To not make it a big chunk, because on the end of the day, everyone is sitting like this and they don't hear and see anything. They don't see anything anymore. So that is also what I'm always trying to do. And also, as much as possible, do it in an environment that the audience is also looking at and seeing their own data, and not working with some kind of demo data. That also works very good. Because when you are working, and we have that, when you are working with the demo data of Microsoft with Contoso, it helps to explain the functionality.
But it's not relatable, right?
No, indeed. I always also have that. I need to hands-on, practical, look at the system, see where are we talking about. And when they see names, when they see positions that they recognize and departments, I think it's much better to understand. And it's much easier to go through that first part and explain, okay, what are the prerequisites in your system? What should you first define in the system before you can start talking about creating an employee or creating an employment? And that is something that is, I think, very important. And when I look in the training, I also need to constantly screening if I go too slow. So constant evaluation is also important to look back, to improve for the future, because you only have a few days for the training. You can also only do that once. That first training that should be good. That should be handing over some knowledge as well. And what I always also say is the training, that's step one. But it's much more important that immediately after that training, not wait for a few weeks before you dive into that system. So for me, it's also important that the organization is taking care of an environment with some data in it, so that immediately after that training, they can already play around in the system. Because it's very important to have your guidance, to have your quick reference guides, to have your training documentation, but also practice, and do it all by yourself, because that's the best way to learn.